Estimating an electrical project for a large garage involves several key components, including the subpanel feed, general-purpose circuits, exterior circuits, lighting circuits, and circuits for specific equipment like a compressor and welder. Let's break down the electrical requirements and considerations for such an installation. Firstly, the subpanel feed is critical. A 60-amp circuit is being run from the main panel to a 125-amp subpanel located in the garage. Given the 50-foot trench and 20-foot run within the garage using polyvinyl chloride conduit, calculating the correct wire size is paramount to prevent voltage drop and ensure safe operation. According to the National Electrical Code, NEC, Table 310.15, B16, we would need to select a wire gauge appropriate for 60 amps, taking into account the insulation type and ambient temperature. Copper conductors are often preferred for their conductivity and ease of use. Keep in mind to reference NEC Article 250 for proper grounding and bonding requirements of the subpanel. Secondly, consider the general-purpose receptacle circuits. 8 quad receptacles and 1 ground fault circuit interrupter-protected outdoor receptacle are specified. Each 20-amp circuit requires appropriately sized conductors, typically number 12 American wire gauge copper for standard applications. Ground fault circuit interrupter protection is essential for outdoor receptacles to prevent electrical shock hazards. The NEC Article 210 details branch circuit requirements, including receptacle spacing and allowable loads. Thirdly, the lighting circuits consist of 2 interior lighting circuits, 1 entry light, and 2 exterior security lights, all operating on 20-amp circuits. Again, number 12 American wire gauge copper is suitable, but confirmed based on the fixture load. Proper switching arrangements using 3-way switches for the entry light offer convenience and control. NEC Article 210 governs lighting circuit installations, including the maximum number of lighting outlets permitted on a single circuit. Fourthly, for the compressor, the specification mentions a 3.5 horsepower compressor with an extrapolated full load amperage of 24 amps at 240 volts. A dedicated circuit is required using conductors sized appropriately for the compressor's full load amperage, plus an additional safety factor. NEC Table 430.248 and 430.250 provide the full load currents for single-phase alternating current motors. Also, refer to NEC Article 430 for motor circuit protection requirements, including the selection of the correct overload protection and short circuit protection devices. Flexible metal conduit is suitable for the final connection to the compressor to allow for vibration and movement. A small 60-amp breaker box near the compressor will serve as a local disconnect. Fifthly, the welder circuit needs to be a 60-amp circuit with a 50-amp receptacle located near the subpanel. The conductor size must be adequate for the maximum current demand of the welder. NEC Article 630 covers the specific requirements for welding circuits, including conductor sizing, overcurrent protection, and disconnecting means. Flexible metal conduit is often used for the final connection to the welder receptacle. Sixthly, the grounding system needs to be robust. A ground rod is being provided and connected to the subpanel and the main panel. The grounding electrode conductor size must comply with NEC Table 250.66 based on the size of the service entrance conductors. All metallic enclosures and non-current carrying metal parts must be bonded to the grounding system to provide a low impedance path for fault currents. Seventhly, regarding materials, square DQ or series breakers are specified. Ensure compatibility with the subpanel. Number 12 American wire gauge Romex is used for the lighting and receptacle circuits. Appropriately sized conductors must be used for the compressor and welder circuits. Eighthly, the installation process involves trenching for the underground conduit run, mounting and connecting the subpanel, wiring the various circuits, installing receptacles and lighting fixtures, and connecting the compressor and welder. All work must comply with the NEC and local electrical codes. Ninthly, consider permits and inspections. Electrical work typically requires permits and inspections by the local authority having jurisdiction. This ensures that the installation meets safety standards and code requirements. Permit fees and inspection costs should be factored into the overall project cost. 10thly, let's talk about bidding strategy. When bidding a job, it is essential to accurately estimate the cost of materials, labor, and any other associated expenses. A detailed breakdown of the materials required, including wire, conduit, boxes, devices, breakers, and grounding hardware is needed. Labor costs should be estimated based on the time required to complete each task, considering factors such as the complexity of the installation, the working conditions, and the skill level of the electrician. Other expenses to consider may include permits, inspections, equipment rental, and travel costs. Remember to include a reasonable profit margin to ensure the profitability of the project. Obtain several quotes from different suppliers to get the best prices on materials. Use a detailed checklist to ensure that all aspects of the project are considered. Consult with experienced electricians or contractors for guidance on pricing and estimating. Review similar projects to get an idea of the typical costs involved. Clearly communicate the scope of work and any exclusions in the bid proposal. Consider offering different options or alternatives to meet the customer's budget or requirements. Additionally, a good estimate involves several steps. First, performing a thorough site assessment. This involves evaluating the existing electrical system, identifying potential hazards, and determining the best approach for the new installation. Second, developing a detailed plan. This plan should outline the scope of work, including the location of all electrical components, the wiring methods to be used, and the safety precautions to be taken. Third, creating a bill of materials. This bill should list all the materials required for the project, including wire, conduit, boxes, devices, breakers, and grounding hardware. Fourth, estimating labor costs. This involves calculating the number of hours required to complete each task, taking into account the complexity of the installation and the skill level of the electrician. Fifth, calculating other expenses. This includes permits, inspections, equipment rental, and travel costs. Sixth, adding a profit margin. This ensures that the project is profitable and that the business can continue to operate. Seventh, presenting the bid to the customer. The bid should be clear, concise, and easy to understand. It should include a detailed breakdown of the costs, as well as a timeline for completion. Eighth, providing excellent customer service. This includes answering any questions the customer may have, addressing any concerns, and keeping the customer informed throughout the project. Ninth, following up after the project is complete. This ensures that the customer is satisfied with the work and that any issues are resolved promptly. 10th, documenting everything. This includes keeping records of all materials used, labor hours, and expenses. This documentation can be helpful for future projects and for resolving any disputes. Remember that labor costs can be broken down by task. For example, trenching the 50-foot run for the underground conduit includes excavation, laying the conduit, and backfilling. Installing the subpanel involves mounting the panel, connecting the feeder conductors, and installing the branch circuit breakers. Wiring the receptacle circuits includes running the Romex cable, installing the boxes and receptacles, and making the connections. Wiring the lighting circuits includes running the Romex cable, installing the boxes and fixtures, and making the connections. Installing the compressor circuit includes running the conduit, pulling the conductors, and connecting the compressor. Installing the welder circuit includes running the conduit, pulling the conductors, and installing the receptacle. Connecting the ground rod includes driving the rod into the ground, connecting the grounding electrode conductor, and testing the connection. Furthermore, calculating the full material list is critical. This may include items such as number 6 American wire gauge copper for the 60 amp feeder, number 12 American wire gauge Romex for general purpose circuits, polyvinyl chloride conduit, boxes, fittings, receptacles, ground fault circuit, interrupter receptacles, lighting fixtures, switches, breakers, ground rod, grounding electrode conductor, flexible metal conduit, connectors, and miscellaneous hardware. Finally, keep in mind that the electrical codes and regulations are constantly evolving, so it is important to stay up to date on the latest requirements. This can be done by attending continuing education courses, reading industry publications, and consulting with other electrical professionals. Based on the information provided and considering labor, materials, permits, and a reasonable profit margin, the quoted estimate of $1,700 for the project is within a reasonable range.